Okay, so rounding up this discussion on design systems, the final thing to think about is the actual maintenance going forward. We talked about like building them and some of the challenges and complexities, but the actual process of maintaining them going forward, and where does the design and innovation actually come from? Where do these decisions get made? A lot of people see it as this kind of very linear thing of the design team have this vision, this idea about how it should look, and that's translated to the developers who build it, and so on. But really that kind of hierarchical thing doesn't play out in practice, because of the people building it are going to be more current of some of the complexities or challenges of actually integrating something, but also some of the conventions or ways that things should be introduced. Maybe there's a UX layer in between in this team, and so more it's about how different people would get buy-in. So I was trying to think of an example for this. Let's say like a login form, for instance. Let's say we all know kind of how a standard login form works. There's often two tabs of login or sign up, and the login has got email address and password, remember me box with the login button, and then there's a sign up option, maybe a different tab. That's email address, confirm email, password, or confirm password. You know, there's a few more steps, tick agree terms. What if someone had the idea of combining the two? So you always had an email and password field. You type them in, and then you click, I don't know, go. And then a quick lookup would say, if this email address exists in our system, then we try and log them in. If it doesn't exist, then they're a new user. And so it would then suddenly give them the terms, and you can do a sign-up flow. That's a kind of new way of approaching a sign-up form, which is a convention that's done to death. So a designer most likely won't come up with that idea if they're not particularly working on web, because of they assume that it's done in that way for a particular reason, right? I don't build web pages, I just design things, and I know how to design a login form. If you did something completely new, you'd be kind of scared of presenting that to the development team, because they would just say that doesn't work. The auth module we're using has a very specific set and layout, and we have two different pages, and we can't combine the two in that way because it messes with the way our structure is. So your hesitancy to sort of introduce a new idea is sometimes held back by your awareness of the actual web technologies. Similarly, on the dev side, they might sort of feel like, well, that's not my place to suggest completely changing the way a page is structured or the way that the login sign-up process flows, because of you're thinking about user experience there. That's kind of the thing that design would suggest to us, because of I just know how to implement the design you give to me. I just build the thing. So perhaps you're not going to suggest back to the design team that you want to build things in a certain way. So as a result, innovation is somewhat stifled. People aren't coming up with new conventions or new ways unless you are schooled or aware of the web technologies, its abilities or limitations, but also you're thinking about ways to make the project better, to make things a more smooth experience. That's why you need some sort of buy-in. This could apply to hundreds of examples. That login was just an idea, but if you're thinking about the way that content can animate into a page, if you're thinking about the way that signing up or adding things to a basket could be kind of made smooth, or could be about, rather than a menu bar, could be a form that pops out, or could be a transition on the page. Anything kind of cool or nifty, there just could be a hesitancy on both sides. One that doesn't know if it can be done, and the other side kind of assuming it's not really part of their role. And really also going back to the previous video about complexities and problems you run into, it's the same thing, that designers might not know some of the limitations or problems that a component will fall into. They can design the kind of ideal use case, but the developer might need to pass back and say, these are the challenges. It's a communication. It's a constant back and forth about working together to build the most robust, but also ideally presented elements. Where does that innovation actually come from? Everyone. That's the point. The design system is not owned by design, and it's not owned by the dev team. Maybe the component library is going to be largely maintained in code by a dev team, but the actual system, the whole process about how it works, is got to be owned by the team, and that's everyone from top to bottom, everyone who's involved in implementing, adapting, or working with it on any level. You all have to have a shared agreement about what it is you're trying to do, what those aims are, and that way everyone can discuss and participate in making it the best it can be by applying your particular knowledge and experience. That kind of wraps up our thoughts on design systems, but it's a very interesting area, and it's something that is probably very different. It plays out differently in just about every environment with every company, and the conventions are always something that's hard to actually get working in practice. But yeah, let me know any thoughts or feelings on that. Then we'll look at some other stuff. That's all today. Have a good day.